Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I am your host. And today's episode is a Q&A episode. Once again, it's because I haven't organised someone, but that's because I went away on holidays for a week and a half and I did enough. I scrambled to get guests so that I didn't have to do one while I was away. But then this week that I've been back, I've just been trying to get stuff done back on site again to make sure everything is under control, which it was and is. But I didn't have any guests lined up or available to get on short notice. But I have got one for next week. Also going to line another one up with Peter Donegan to see what he's been up to. And then there's some others who um, I'll be reaching out to round out the year because I think it only might be maybe another 6 or 7 episodes for the rest of the year. But I've got a past guest coming up to see what she's been up to as well. So a couple of good episodes coming up, but we'll do the Q&A today. And I asked if I did a Q&A question, would have been 6 weeks ago, I reckon. And I didn't do that episode as a Q&A, just had the week off. So I've gone back and got those in as well. So the first four are from 6 weeks ago, and then the remaining, I don't know, maybe another 10 or so from this week. The first question is from BJ from the Lawn and Land Equip Expo, saying, what vendors should we seek out for next year's show to attract more landscapers like yourself? So BJ's event was pretty awesome to go to. He held it out at the Caribbean Gardens, and he had done it the year before, and apparently this year was the numbers were heaps bigger. Um, and now he's going to be doing it next year on the Gold Coast. I think it's like the 1st of August or around there. So it is targeted more towards the maintenance and mowing community. But like Landscape in Victoria were there, and there were some other companies that were there that were kind of landscape related. But I don't know that it'd be worth trying to target landscapers as well. Like I understand the Equip Expo in, I think it's in Kentucky in America, is on at the moment or just wrapped up, and that's kind of what he's modeling it on. But and that's like got maintenance as well as landscaping, and it's got everything involved. I think it's even got arboriculture and maybe even a bit of ag in there. But I think when you're starting out, you don't want to try and be everything to everyone. So I reckon it's better off to sort of target who you'd know in the maintenance and mower game, and then yeah, because I don't even know who you would like what you'd want to get like paving companies, or I couldn't even say who to get to try and get landscapers there. But I think it's better off being a lawn and um, lawn and maintenance show. But I'll be going next year and possibly going to be having a stall for the landscaping school because again, those maintenance folks are part of the target audience. So that'll be hopefully a productive trip, and also unfortunately have to go to the Gold Coast in the middle of winter. So that'll be tough to do as well. Next question is from Terracore Landscapes. What do you think the pros and cons are between quoted projects and cost plus projects? So I've only ever done quoted projects, and that's also pretty. I'm 99% certain that if you're like in Victoria, if you're doing a contract, you can't do cost plus unless it's over a certain amount, which is possibly 500,000 or a million or something really high. You're not allowed to do cost plus. So I've only ever done quoted projects, but my basic understanding is the benefits of doing cost plus is that you can't lose because whatever the materials are that you're buying, you then on charge that with a small profit to the client, and the same in terms of hours. And then when you're quoting a project, there's more risk that you might lose money, but also you might make more money, so you can make a higher percentage of profit. So if you quote it with a higher percentage of profit and you work faster and get it done quicker, then you're going to make more money. So I also enjoy that more because I hate because every now and then I've done something like hourly rate, but as an extra, and I just feel bad if you're standing looking at something on your phone, like an email or something, wondering if the client's watching you doing that. So that's something I'd have to get my head around to stop worrying about that and just sort of understand that I know that I do work efficiently, but I'd rather have a figure to work towards And then if I work faster, I get rewarded for it. And if I work slower or make a mistake, then that costs me. Attila, the horticulturist, said, "Is there a job that you initially didn't want to do but actually turned out way better?" I couldn't think of any that in that meet that question, because there have been ones in the past, like in the last sort of 5 years, that I didn't want to do it, so I don't do them. But even thinking back before then, I remember going to a project, and it was a big retaining wall. I went out and spoke to the client. I wasn't really feeling too great about it because I don't like doing retaining walls. I don't like excavation or slopes, so retaining walls aren't a good thing for me. So I left the project and then was just on the way home driving, thinking I don't want to do this. So I ended up messaging him and saying that's not a project that I'd be willing to take on. I can't remember if I recommended someone else, but hopefully I did. But yeah, it's just best to not do those type of projects if you don't want to do it. Like there might be some that you don't want to do and they turn out all right, but it's more often than not, if you don't want to do it, there's a reason for it. Like you should trust your gut. Um, so if you're in a position to be able to knock back work, then I'd strongly suggest doing that. There have been projects that I thought were going to be a good idea, and then they turned out to be an amazing idea. So there was a particular builder I wanted to work for probably a couple of years, and then we got the opportunity to quote one of their projects, and I quoted it like I lost money on it. Maybe it might be 12 grand. It might have been like 8% at a guess of what the project was. So I made an 8% loss. But then since then, I have made an enormous amount of money just off working on that builder's projects. So that was an extremely wise investment to make, and that's how I saw it at the time. It's an investment. It's like marketing. Uh, like if I could have quoted normally with a good profit and still got the job potentially, but also could have missed out, and then they could have gone with someone else, and then that is the person they used going forward. So it wasn't a risk I was willing to take. So I wanted to get the job, got it, and then once you get it, then you can make the most of it, do a good job, and then look after them going forward as well. And now we've got an awesome relationship, and worked on done work at their house and done designs, and it's yeah, couldn't have worked out better. And there's other jobs as well. Like I think every job that I've ever done that for, like made a loss, but I, you know, put it down to marketing. It's always worked out well. There haven't been any that I've done that for that um, have been, yeah, a risk that failed. So, yeah, it can be good to, yeah, have a bit of a risk every now and then if you're in the position to do so. Like losing that money on the project, I was fine. I can make that up on the next one. So, you don't want to put yourself out of business trying to get these big jobs. High Qual Landscapes said, if you could design a dream landscape anywhere in the world, what would it look like? Well, interestingly, if I had have answered this when they asked it last 6 weeks ago, I would have certainly said somewhere in Queensland and be a tropical garden. I just love going up there, like Port Douglas or Noosa. They're my dream destinations. But then since then, we've been over to Western Australia. And that is in a battle with Queensland as my favourite state in Australia. I absolutely loved it over there. I've always wanted to go there. It's just always looked like a beautiful place, and it was better than I thought it would be. And there's so many more. Like it's such a massive state, and there's so many more other things I would like to see there. But when traveling with a family with three kids who are 10 to 14, it's spending hours and hours traveling is not ideal. So I didn't see a lot of the stuff I would have liked. I would see if I was, on my own, like heading up north on the coast. That would be pretty awesome as well. So but there's so much, and we could have gone further south as well. So we're mainly in Perth, and then we went down to the further south we went was Dunsborough. Went whale watching there. Um, but I loved the garden as well. I was amazed at how many agonis there were. I didn't realize. I was going to look it up, but I assumed that they're indigenous to WA just because there were so many of them and they were massive as well, like so much bigger than what they grow here. So they seem to be doing all right there. Um, Frangipani is my favorite plant, and they were all over the place as well. Not many had leaves on them, so they were just waiting to kick back into foliage, but that would look pretty awesome as well. But yeah, huge lover of tropical gardens. Like my favorite, one of my favorite show gardens I've done was the one called Lush, where it was like all tropical plants. And I had a couple of big frangipanis in there. And something I'm going to be putting into more of my gardens now also is the Hymenasporum flavum, which is a native frangipani, because that smells just as good as the normal frangipani. And I walked past one of them when I was in WA as well. So yeah, it'd be a lot of lush foliage and fragrant flowers and sun. Just love the sun. But yeah, don't know whether it would be. And I reckon again another thing for WA to be my favourite would be the sand. Like not ideal to plant in, I assume, like in terms of the quality of soil, but really nice to be digging in and good for drainage. So yeah, there's pros and cons for that too. Weber Landscape said, "Do you ever get sick of dealing with clients, tax bills, BAS payments, paying accounts, etc.?" Because I sure do. And he didn't say sure, but I don't want to make this an explicit episode, so that's what I'm going to leave in there. But yeah, it's funny. I remember when I first started out, I thought like I was looking at bank account, things are going pretty well. It's just starting to make a bit of money. It's really building up, and then yeah, realised that it was the quarterly BAS is due, so that's what all that money was there, and I also had to find some more money. Like I can't say how many years that would have gone on for, where I kept surprising myself. I was kept thinking, oh, I've got doing all right now. Oh no, that's right, that's the BAS. Um, I've got a PAYG account where I put money into that each week when I do the pay, so it's not as much of a shock these days. But yeah, I do. It can get a bit overwhelming. I think it's more to do with cash flow as well. Like if you've got good cash flow, the payments aren't that much of a bother. Like if you've got good money coming in, good money, and then when the payments come, you know you've got the money there. So when it's like that, it's not that annoying. But when you've got a lot of projects on, that makes the cash flow a lot tighter, and then that always seems to be when the money's coming out as well. So yeah, I do get sick of it, but it is what it is. And there's a question in a similar vein to that I think it's the towards the end anyway. But it's good to know what your costs are so that you can understand what's real money and what's not. So what needs to get paid towards accounts or the BAS, and what's real. So there's things like the profit first principles, which is about putting money into other accounts, um, is a good thing to look into, and just getting as much of an understanding around your finances as you can, so you understand what money is actually there to be used, and what's just going to be what's sitting there waiting to be paid out. Playman is Dan said, "Be honest. How much were you benching when you did your pec?" So he's referring to the Instagram story that I posted where I found out that I didn't have a heart attack. I think that was about 6 weeks ago as well, but had just potentially strained a pec muscle. So that's what the cardiologist told me. I find it hard to believe that it was just a strained pec muscle because it didn't feel anything like a strained muscle. But I'm not a cardiologist, so what would I know? But I was not bench pressing anything at the time, just on a machine the whole day that day as well. So I wasn't even working hard at all. But it could have been like sort of, bracing yourself when you're on the machine might have done something. But um, I do own a set of weights, but they live in the garage and I don't go into the garage much. So there's no worries about bench pressing injuries for me in the near future. Hutch Studios has got a couple of questions saying, what level of involvement from a designer do you feel works best on your construction jobs? And what are the three things you wish designers did better or documented for your jobs? In terms of the involvement from a designer, it's a tricky one because you can, as a construction person, you can be wishing that there's more information in the design, and the designer would have liked to have put more information into the design, but the client didn't want to pay for that certain element. So they might have just wanted to pay for a concept design and not get construction drawings. So then it makes it frustrating for the designer and the contractor because they can't sort of communicate as well on what one person doing and one person wants done. Um, but the most important thing I want from designers when I'm working on a design that they want to have involvement in is communication being fast. So if they want to, like, there's some designers who are happy for it. They don't really care if you make change to the design or do whatever. It's basically they do the design and then you build it. If you make changes with the client, so be it. They're not that concerned about it. But ones who are concerned about it, it bothers me when you contact them with a question like that you found like an error on the design or a problem to solve, and you're there working it out and sort of you might have a machine there that you've hired that's starting to dig out and you need to get answers for. So you need those answers quick. So that's the number one thing that I would want from designers. If they want to have any involvement in the construction, they need to be very responsive to questions that get asked. Um, but yeah, other things, it's more communication about when you're first working with a designer. Once you've got a better understanding of how they want things done and things that they would be worried about and want to get contacted about, and other things that they'd be fine with you working out. Once you get that relationship of knowing those things, it's fine. But in the early days, the earlier the relationship, the more communication there should be. But there's things like uh, putting height on a design can be good, but also they can be a negative because if you've got a big paving area and the heights, it's got multiple heights on there and they're all the exact same height, then there's not a lot of point putting all them on there because it can't be built like that. So yeah, there's a fine line between giving him information and having that information be accurate. So it can be, it would depend on who the contractor is on how much information you want, but I would want less information so I can work it out myself and do it the way I want to do it. But if you're working with a less experienced contractor, you might want to give more information. And I found that just recently I've done a design that I haven't got time to build, so I've got a couple of other people quoting it, and one's asking me questions and one isn't for the quote. So it'd be interesting to see how those two quotes match up. Um, and then there's things that they ask, like one asked a question, and I realized I should have put more information into the design. So even as a designer, you learn things from getting people to quote it and build it that you could do better in the future as well. So um, yeah, so it's not a black and white, one size fits all kind of answer. So it's probably not a very helpful answer, unfortunately, which I apologize for. Um, but at the end of the day, the communication is the key. So if the person building it's got questions, they can answer and get a quick answer. They can ask a question and get a quick answer. Bay Design Gardens said, why are nurseries closing down? Is it land tax? Are they being pushed out by Bunnings? So I'm not aware of any nurseries that have been closing down or struggling, but I have been experiencing some poor service. I think it'd be best to say, yeah, poor service from a nursery or two, whether that's sending out the wrong plants or taking 9 days to get back to you when you order plants. Um, and then a further, I think it's been 7 or 8 after confirming that you're happy to go with the quote. So it's and so my answer would be why they're closing down is they may be getting less business because their service is dropping. That's what it could be. But I don't know anything about Bunnings, whether they're pushing nurseries out. I suppose that's only going to be for retail nurseries. So I don't know if it's retail nurseries that are closing down. But I couldn't see anyone who's buying from a wholesale nursery is not going to be shopping at Bunnings because they are a lot more expensive. Um, there are plants that they have that you can't get elsewhere, but it's pretty rare. So not in the industry enough to know about why that could be. But I do know the land tax is a big thing for commercial properties. So it could be that because I don't know how many nurseries own their properties, but it could be the landlords putting that up. to be able to pay for it, which would make sense. But I'd say that it'd be rare for it might not be rare, but I would think that nurseries who are providing immaculate stock with service to match, like Warner's, for example, like they're always phenomenal. They're not going to close down anytime soon because they provide that service and the quality. So, if you're not providing service or quality, then people are going to go elsewhere where they'd get that. So then you're going to have less people buying your plants. And I don't think there's a big enough. I've always thought that there's not enough margin um, in plants, but or in terms of the wholesale nurseries or the growers mainly. But there seems to be enough of them going around. Edenscape said, if you could change one thing since you started your business, what would it be? And this was the question I was alluding to earlier about the paying the taxes and that sort of thing. Because the thing I would change is getting a better understanding of the finances behind the business and the why I need to charge what I was charging per hour. During COVID, when there were, I can't remember what the payments were called, but um, like everyone was getting payments from the government, which everyone's now paying back. But I think I would have got maybe, I think it was about 100 grand over the period of time for to keep the staff employed. And I remember at the time, I think I had 5 employees on it then. And I remember thinking, I don't understand how I'm getting all this money and and my bank balance isn't going up. And then once those payments stopped, then I realized the money was coming out. So I was initially thinking, oh, maybe it's just because I do need that money because maybe we're not turning over as much work or whatever. But we were working non-stop the whole time, so that wasn't the case. But that's just what I thought. But the when the money stopped coming in, I still had all those employees, and then the money was draining out of the bank account really quick. So I realized that was when I first realized how important it is to see that two people don't work twice as fast as one. So I had 5 people on, thinking they were all working at the same pace as what I do. So that's what I was quoting at. Um, I can't remember. I think I also had to work out. I hadn't worked out my hourly rate calculations in a while, so we also should have been charging more than what we were. So not only were we not charging enough, but also I wasn't allowing enough time for things. So um, yeah, that's something I would have liked to have done better, and I would have had a hell of a lot more money and less debt than what I do now. So just understanding as much as you can about the financial side of the business, or having someone who looks after that side of the business if you don't want to understand it or can't understand it. But because not many people start a landscaping business because they're good at business. They start because they're good at landscaping. So either learn how to run a business, or get someone who help you who knows how to run a business or that part of the business. So that's something I would do differently, whether that's having a bookkeeper or having a better communication with the accountant. Um, but that's something I would have liked to have done differently. Now the ironic thing is, now that I understand how much I need to charge, I've only got one employee. So even if I didn't know, it wouldn't be as it wouldn't make as big a difference on my bank account if I wasn't charging enough. Because now 50% of my staff do work as fast as me because it's me. Rich Earth Landscape said, "Is it still hard to find staff?" I didn't. That's a coincidental positioning of that question. I think it depends on obviously where you are, what type of staff you're looking for. I reckon if you're trying to find a qualified landscaper or an experienced designer, it is hard, and that's always the case. But in terms of like an apprentice or a inexperienced junior kind of designer, they're easy to find, but it's just whether you find one that's good enough for you or whether you've got the patience to make them good enough for you. Um, I generally don't have the patience for that, but I think that I would like to have an apprentice on, but um, I've also got a lot of other things to try and spend my time on, which is not worrying about what an apprentice is doing. So don't know if I will put one on this year or to wait till next year. But I know the last time I advertised for one, I got more than I think it was like 114 applicants for an apprentice. So not all good ones, but there were probably some superstars in there. But I just didn't. I think I put one on, worked out to be no good, and then by the time that they'd started, and then I realised they were no good. It had been like 6 weeks since I'd done the ad. So then I messaged someone else, and he'd already got another job somewhere else, and so then I didn't end up putting anyone else on after that. But I think they're out there, and like if you're looking for someone who's qualified or experienced, it's worth spending money trying to find someone. Because if you can find them, then it's yeah, worth your weight in gold. Lefroy Landscape Design said, "What's the best looking entry level price for retaining walls, not including limestone or panel and posts?" So I don't know what the panel and post is, whether that's like the steel post with timber sleepers. But when I was in WA, I did see a lot of those limestone retaining walls, like they're everywhere. So it makes sense that they'd be cheap because they look alright as well, but um, they do seem to be pretty common. But something I like, obviously, like I think the cheapest is to do like a steel post with a timber sleeper. And I reckon if you do that, there's a lot of ways you can pretty up the face of it. Like whether that's just painting it, that's going to make it look better than than not. You can paint the posts, even just painting the posts black is going to make it look better than if they were just galvanized. Um, but something I think is a good thing to do, and I haven't worked out the cost of it, but if you were to build one of those retaining walls like steel post and treated pine sleepers, then you could box out the front of the wall and clad it with. There's a cladding from Eco Deck, which is like a screening cladding kind of thing. Uh, but just putting something on there, can't remember what it's called, but we did a screen of it, and it looks pretty awesome. So they look like timber battens when they go on there when it's finished, and they might be like 200, they might be 200 mil wide or 230 mil wide or something. And you just put one on, fixing. I think we screwed it on because we're going into metal, but I think you can use fixing nails potentially. But you basically screw it on, put the next one on, screw it on, and they're all concealed fixings except the last one. It's all like a modwood kind of material, like the composite, sorry. And so you could just put that on there, and that's going to make it look so much fancier than just a normal retaining wall. And then maybe put a timber cap or some sort of cap on top. But yeah, retaining walls are expensive, so there's not really a cheap option that looks good. But yeah, aside from painting it, there's not much cheaper than doing that, or using rocks, or having slopes that you could have plants sort of soften the look of it. Abcam Horticulture said, "What's the motivation to do a show garden solo? And is being able to smash a Dare iced coffee again the best thing ever?" So his question about the Dare iced coffee, and he should have said Dare double espresso iced coffee. That is in relation to my what I thought was a heart attack, or what I was told was potentially a heart attack. So I did dial back the Dare double espresso iced coffees, and I still haven't. I've had a few, but haven't slammed back into them. Because I thought, mate, because one of the when you think about a heart attack, you've got and you're in hospital for a couple of nights, you've got time to think. I was thinking maybe I shouldn't be quite as heavy as what I am, so maybe I should eat a bit healthier. Even though I haven't had a heart attack, it's still something I think probably a good idea to not drink as many of those sugar laced caffeine drinks. So every now and then is good, but like most things, in moderation is probably better. But the motivation to do a show garden solo is because I love getting involved in the show gardens at Melbourne and just love being part of it. But the last one cost me way too much money. So then I was trying to think of ways to have it not cost money. And one of them is having employees work, um, like earn money while working. And my team is not big enough. Like when I decided to do the show garden, I had, I think, 3 people. And one of them had already told me he was going to leave eventually. So I didn't know when that was going to be. Um, but yeah, that's the main reason for it was so that it doesn't cost as much money. Because that so if our staff levels stay as they are, so it's just me and Zoki, I'll have him sort of running up and back doing a lot of deliveries. So it's not I'm not going to be going doing picking things up myself because I haven't got time to do that. So he's not going to be earning money like we would in a perfect world while I'm there building it. Um, but he'll be able to help out with getting things to site. But it's also like once you do one show garden, like that it was like a big goal of mine to do one, and then I did it, and I think then like just doing another one would just feel like doing another one just for the sake of it. So I wanted to make it more challenging, um, and because I like pushing myself to the limit. When I was in the hospital, I was thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm probably not going to be able to do the show garden, like even if I recover fine, because it's probably not good for my heart. But the cardiologist literally said to me, "You can work as hard as you want." So, because when they looked at my arteries, they're all big and open and clear. So I don't know if he realized what he said to me when he said, "Well, you can work as hard as you want." Don't know if he knew who he was talking to, because I'll take that literally. Because I'll be working pretty hard on that show garden because it's something like I don't know whether anyone's done it before, um, but yeah, like I've done. I did a kayaking marathon, which is 400 k's over 5 days on the Murray River. I've run two marathons and about six half marathons. So I love pushing myself and having like a goal to work towards. Like when I used to train for the marathons, it was easy to go for a run after work because I had a goal I was going towards. And then when I didn't have any marathons to train for, I found it hard to get motivated to go for a run because I was just running for the sake of it, not for I didn't have any goal in mind. So um, yeah, it's good to have goals and push yourself beyond your limits. And that's why I loved working on the block as well. Like that was insane too. So yeah, so it's just and you don't get to um, push yourself that hard just on a normal project. So you're not working as long hours. Well, I don't anyway, because I've also got a family, so it's not like the show garden is a prolonged period of time. That's like 10 days of madness, and then up there for the show nights, but and then pull it down. But it's not like it's going to be like that all the time. So yeah, extremely excited for it. Mm. And it's not like I'm going to not produce a show garden if I can't do it myself. So if I get to a point where I think I'm definitely not going to be able to get this finished, then I'll just send out an SOS. And I know that there's a billion people who would love to come on and help out. So I'll do whatever it takes to get it finished to a great standard. But like half of that is because I want to get it finished because it's got my name attached, and also for IMG and the garden show because I don't want to present a rubbish looking garden. So I've got my son's 11th birthday on the second last day of the build, and I don't work on his birthday. So um, ideally, no one will be there that day. But if I have to, I'll get Zoki to be there by himself, or if we're struggling by then, I'll get heaps of people in there and just give them instructions. But 99.9% chance I won't be there on that day. And all I need to do is just work harder on the other days to make up for that. And also, I'm the one who does the design, so I design according to the amount of days that I can work there. But yeah, I think that was the longest answer to any of the questions, and that's because I'm so excited to do that show garden and can't wait for it to start. I haven't started building any of it yet, but I'm also excited to start doing that. And Earth Escape's got the last question. Said, over the years, have you found renting a tool or machine is more beneficial or is buying? So you get a better answer of someone who's done both, but well, I have bought machines, sorry, tools, but I've never bought a machine like a excavator or mini loader or anything like that, because I've always found renting it very easy, and that's not because the renting yard is 80 meters from where my shed is, and they've got Again, awesome service. I've done landscaping at the owners' places. So you build those relationships and provide good service and good machines, then people keep coming back to you. But yeah, I don't know enough about machines to be able to fix them, and I know enough about them that they break down and need to be fixed. So that's why I've never bought a machine. But there's also things like demo saws, like concrete demo saws that I've never bought, and I'll hire them. And there's things like that that get really dirty. So again, they'll sort of break down because they get dirtier just by the nature of what they are. Like they're cutting up concrete with water, so it makes a cement paste and dries. And so there's things that are worth having because you're going to use them all the time. And any tool you have, if you own it, you'll use it more than if you rent it. Because if you need to use something for 5 minutes, you just grab it from the shed, use it. But you might not necessarily rent that. So there are benefits to owning things because you use it more. But it's also easy just to add that cost to a quote to rent the machine. So then you're not losing and you're not paying for it on every project. So yeah, so it depends on what machine it is, but I think there's nothing wrong with renting at all. So that was the last question for this evening. So quite a few questions, which is awesome, and I do have enjoyed doing that again. Um, but yeah, I think it'll be back to normal for the rest of the year, doing normal episodes, and then we'll see if we do some more Q&As next year. But thank you very much for everyone who sent in a question, and we'll talk to you next week.